Hello, Brobs. I'm setting up the room, so don't get too scared. Open the chat, fool. Because it would take many large volumes to explain in detail the overall activity that went on in the construction of the universe, and because in these writings we hope to deal with more than one subject, we will have to forego whatever pleasures there may be in the pursuit of endless technicalities. We will go on with the work by making the simple statement that all planets, or what you now know as heavenly bodies of whatever kind, were formed or came into being by the law of selectivity and repulsion that one chemical has for another. And much of the activity of the entire cosmos had to do with the size and weight of one body over another, and its directional motion and vibratory rate, and its distance in relation to other bodies. A great many of the suns are millions of years older, as you record time, than the earth and moon, and like bodies, but none of the planets was born out of the suns by some cataclysmic eruption or exploding of the suns. However, some of the suns took this form of birth caused by giant planets roaring into one of the suns that were many times larger than the Earth's sun. The planets taking their substance from matter rejected by the suns through the force of repulsion, the substance being caught up in vortexes created by an entirely different tone or sound vibration. As those planetary bodies grew, they became cauldrons of intense heat, the tremendous heat acting as a sterilizing agent to keep the growing bodies from being overrun by the billions upon billions of etheric germ lives that swarmed in interstellar space. As these planets started to cool, sulfuric gas clouds many thousands of miles deep formed around them, blocking off the intense heat rays of the sun, which were far more penetrating due to the complete lack of the auric envelope that you now call ether around them. The auric envelope could not form until the Earth and other planetary bodies had become more compact and solidified. When a body is set into free motion in what you call space, it will create a pressure force around it equal to its own aggregated mass. And when two or more such bodies are set into such motion, they will affect one another according to their mass, weight, and field of proximity. However, in regard to heavenly bodies, there are other forces of endless variety to consider. Their chemical content, their size and speed of rotation, their fields of repulsion and attraction. But there are endless books on astronomy of good authority. We will merely touch on the subject from time to time as these writings go on. But one more thing before we close this particular chapter. Your comments run into the hundreds of thousands and are the generators and sowers of cosmic pollen, breaking down and creating and scattering new and viral energy throughout the vast void. Despite their tremendous size, pardon, my nose itched, most of them are of relatively light structure. Were they of heavy and solidified matter like the Earth or other planets, their great speed would create such friction to be brought to bear upon them as to burn them up or explode them before they had traveled 1,000 miles from their point of origin. The work of these cosmic bees is vast in scope, for they not only take planetary debris and convert it back into usable energy, but they rush so close to the suns as to sometimes pass right through the corona and steal great quantities of heat energy to supply other bodies whose position is too remote from any of the suns to get direct heating. While comets steal vast amounts of energy from the suns are constantly being supplied with new, more or less solidified matter. Vast clouds of this matter, numbering into the millions of miles, come pouring out from a void that is far greater in mileage than the distance from your Earth to your most distant star. This matter is converted into radiant energy by the suns. The dark spots or fields seen in your sun are the giant tubes through which the electrons of the smashed atom are driven out by the forces of the exploding nuclei. They are then driven out into space by the continual pressure of light force. It is in these vast fields of matter that comets are formed, the building of them taking place by whirling lines of magnetism. The larger and denser becomes the mass, the greater the pressure of light and sound waves brought to bear on it. And if there are no other bodies within sufficient radius to offer it an equal resistant force, it will break free of its birthplace and roar off to find its orbit among bodies that are strong enough to create a more or less constant field of attraction for it. Regardless of what your present mathematics attempts to show, no force is a constant. For instance, certain existing conditions may take a sudden change and cause a field of attraction to become a field of repulsion. What's up, bruvs? While light is probably the most dependable as far as its speed goes, its action can be modified by refraction or complete blockage. And while such changes do not affect the light of its speed, it might just as well, for it either nullifies or causes such radical changes in the bodies. It is plain on that it becomes no longer a constant. In other words, a thing in itself is never a constant, but finds its constancy in its works. This too is true of man. As long as man acts, he lives, and in any minute he fails to act, he is dead. In other words, the force of his action that he may have been expending on any one given thing has been cut off. However, neither man nor things can achieve the state of complete inactivity on any planet of consciousness, no matter how advanced the state. The so-called cycle of quiescence is no less a cycle of activity. The teachings that man or worlds enter into a state of rest or no motion or nothingness, and then back into what you term a somethingness, while harmless to those who desire to listen to it, it is not entirely a true doctrine. The untrained are staggered over the immensity of space, not knowing that the immensity of space is the immensity of the universal mind, and the immensity of the universal mind is the immensity of the self. Your scientists wish to know if their belief that your universe is expanding is true. We can assure you it is, for the simple reason that man's consciousness is expanding. We do not like to repeat ourselves, but we often find it necessary to say the same things, though in different ways. A little earlier, it was stated that you have only two really dependable sources of knowledge in your physical world, namely science and philosophy. If either of these lights fails or becomes obscure, your civilization will crumble in the dust, as all of the great civilizations have done before you. As exact and delicate as your scientific instruments may be, we wish you to know that the mind that designed and made them are far superior in every way to those instruments. Therefore, we may safely assert that the most accurate instrument man may devise will not do more than register certain aspects of any given phenomenon that may be taking place at the particular moment in your physical, chemical world. But as to the acceptability of the truths of the seemingly existing phenomena, the mind alone can and must decide that. Sorry, you can't see that, but all that physical instruments can ever do is to register motion, never the truth of the motion. I mean, this is some butter churning bullshit, but Thanos is not a legend. He's just a big fat guy. Are you ever going to say anything? Or just keep saying bullshit? I'm a legend, Thanos. You're a legend. I don't know if I can continue reading this book. The book is absolute fucking butter churning bullshit. But I must continue on. Wish I could get this goddamn... There we go. The camera's acting up. The story of creation continued. Why did we have to have a page in between to continue this bullshit? I mean, this is honestly hard to read. I need something to weigh down this motherfucking book. It's really pissing me off. I'm trying not to get... I'm trying not to injure the spine, but goddamn, this is fucking... This is painful. There we go. Look at that. Fuck. Oh. The story of creation continued by the Maharaja Nacha. The fucking Nacha. Is that like nachos? What's that say? Trimaliki? Trimaliki, a prince of India and sometime student at Oxford. When a vast section of the black void has been filled in with all manner and types of heavenly bodies, word was sent to the archangels of the lower etheric that their new plane of consciousness was ready to be experienced. A vast and mighty host of archangels was then initiated into a most holy order, which was to be a deeply secretive group calling themselves Yasu, which means believers in the holy illusion. As greatly advanced as we were, these angelic beings in mental awareness. What does that say? They had not the wisdom and knowledge of the overlord state of consciousness, and therefore could not understand the method of meditation. Yeah, medication's more like it. That the meditation that would take them into the black void. What's up, Brobs? So a great rite was held, and explanations were made with respect to the new worlds and the probable conditions to be found on them, and the possible changes that might be made as time went on, and also how to escape from these bodies back to their original state when and if existing conditions did not prove favorable. With these instructions given, the overlords caused a great sleep to fall upon the angelic host, saying unto them, "Let there be light. Awaken, O my brothers, from your profound world of inner consciousness. Let the light of outer awareness now prevail upon you, and let this light be divided from the inner consciousness." When the high archangels entered the new mental state called the black void, they were not at all shocked or confused at the glorious sight that confronted them, for they were under the guiding control of the minds of the overlords, who, eons of the time later in man's history, were referred to by certain occult schools as the group spirit that governed man's activity on the earth plane until man, had acquired sufficient earth experience to be given his freedom to work on his own initiative. Of the group spirit we will talk at greater length in later pages. An original dust jacket for a first edition Great Gatsby is worth tons if you come across it. Yeah, I know. Apparently the dust jacket is worth thousands and the book itself is just worth hundreds. Or maybe thousands. I've never seen many antique Fitzgerald books. I see like the 1940 reproduced fucking hardcovers. God bless and much love. Hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Yeah. Where was I just at? With these instructions given, the overlords caused a great sleep to fall upon the angelic host, saying unto them, let there be light. Awaken, O my brothers, from your profound world of inner consciousness. Let the light of outer awareness now prevail upon you. And let this light be divided from the inner consciousness. I think I already read that. When the high archangels entered the new mental state called the black void, they were not at all shocked or confused at the glorious sight that confronted them, for they were under the guiding control of the minds of the overlords, who, eons of time later in man's history, were referred to by certain occult schools as the group spirit that governed man's activities on the earth plane, until man had acquired a sufficient earth experience to be given his freedom to work on his own initiative. Of the group spirit, we will talk at greater length. Yeah, I did read this shit. Orders were then given to the great angelic hosts to go and investigate the great fiery bodies that seemed to roar through the inky blackness of the void at appalling rates of speed. One of the first things... I know I'm going to ruin this book. One of the first things to hold the attention of the high archangels was the strange fact that motion had taken on new properties. Not only did the substance of these flaming bodies seem to be something in themselves and entirely apart from them, but they seemed to move about quite independently of the other bodies around them. And when the archangels entered these flaming bodies, they discovered their consciousness did not blend with the substance, but remained quite separate from it and still moved around in it. The high archangels spent what would be the equivalent of many millions of years investigating these bodies as they went through their endless states of change. All conditions of change were duly recorded and reports sent back to the overlords, where, in the course of time, they have been handed back to man as he himself advanced and grew in brain and mind. As some of these flaming gaseous bodies became more or less solidified, the high archangels noted that the substance of which they were composed moved less and less violently. It seemed to them that motion was congealing, and they found it more and more difficult to handle the substance. At first, they believed this peculiar condition was due to the substance being of a yet lighter matter than their own bodies. Finally, they came to realize it was just the reverse. Their own bodies were at fault, whereupon the high archangels withdrew their consciousness from their new worlds and held counsel among themselves, with the overlords intervening occasionally as to what best to do to overcome this new condition, for it was considered useless to go further with their investigation of these bodies unless some means was devised to make direct contact with it. That then was their desperate need, direct contact. Now let us stop here for a moment and endeavor to explain what might appear to one not trained in metaphysics a strange thing. Our use of the terms bodies in regards to the high archangels. In all states of awareness of an individual, the impulse known as consciousness always has a body to travel in. And as for that, so must all things have a body to travel in or on, and this is very important to know, neither the consciousness of an individual nor a so-called thing need know or be at all aware of its body or of possessing a body. A form or shape or body is merely a field of expanded conscious awareness, and these fields of awareness are best suited for the work or experiences that may lie ahead of the consciousness that built it or them. Mind builds and destroys according to its particular need of the moment, and it is not always what you call consciously aware of its action. Let us bring this thought down to your physical world for more clarity. Your heart beats and all your internal organs work night and day without your conscious prompting. Your entire body is going through constant and rapid changes without your conscious assistance. True that. And I'm fucking losing control here. This is what is known as subconscious activity. But believe me, bruvs, subconscious is a misnomer, for the consciousness does know its every minute move. It merely does not import its knowledge to the particular vehicle it is operating upon at the time. Force never says, I am going to move a body, but it moves the body and leaves that body to use the force's energy for its particular needs. Yeah. Interesting in a way that's absurd. And the body that has been so acted upon may find endless implications from the manner alone by which the force moved it. The purpose of my telling you all this is not to leave you wondering or wandering around in the dark in regard to the consciousness and the body and the relations to one another. The overlord spoke to the assembly of high archangels and said, "Oh, our brothers of the new light, the difficulty that you are now faced with lies not in your new world, but in yourselves. And henceforth, if you are to advance and grow in your new world, this you will find to be a truth well worth pursuing. Heretofore, while you have been in possession of what are known as forms or bodies, you have not been aware of them as being something apart or separate from yourself. But now, and due to the necessity of the occasion, we command you to be aware of these bodies." With that, the overlords uttered a holy mantram in deep and resonant tones that caused the archangels to feel as though a great and beautiful and vibrant light had passed over them. And now, before you depart again to your new worlds, we tell you this: the bodies you are now conscious of are good only for your present needs. The substances of which the new worlds are made are subject to rapid and endless change. These changes will not conform to you, so if you hope to live in harmony with this new world, you must conform to it in all its changes. Otherwise, you shall perish from it. The first physical body the archangels used to come with to the earth plane was enormous, ranging from 40 to 50 feet in height and of mighty strength. And they knew naught of fear, but the earth was barren as yet of any kind of growth, and was constantly being rocked and split asunder by devastating earth shocks and frightful winds of intense heat and cold. And now that their bodies were of the same vibratory rate as that of the earth, they needed substance of the same vibration to sustain it. And this could not be found anywhere. And in consequence of all this, they soon perished or gave up their physical bodies. But instead of entering back into the low etheric and regaining their state as archangels, they entered a state of consciousness which we shall call the low astral. These first experimenters of your world had had their earth experiences and had failed to conform with them existing conditions of the earth, the astral being the only open door of this frickin' book, man. I should have just taken the staple out and read it page by page, because this is difficult. No, I totally missed the page. Damn, that's difficult. Their freedom for them from the intolerable conditions of the elements of the earth. Here they could stand by, as it were, and be quite aware of all that went on the earth, but could not physically enter into its activity for some time to come. Then, for millions of years, More then, for millions of years more, the earth was deluged and flooded from end to end with scalding rains, red rains in some part. Hey, maybe that's where the Peter off Highway 10 on the Arizona-New Mexico line. All those giant boulders stacked. They do look like something stacked them. I don't know. I'm open-minded. Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. Then, for millions of years more, the earth was deluged and flooded from end to end with scalding rains, red rains in some parts of the earth, and black rains, the kind which you seem to think phenomenal today. The why of them, your present-day scientists almost answered when they said it was due to dust particles. But the rising of the dust was not of recent times. But long years before the floods came, there were cycles running into the thousands of years of utter dryness that split and powdered the rocky surfaces of the earth, and scorching winds of hundreds of miles an hour swept the earth, carrying trillions of tons of rock dust thousands of miles out into space. After the great deluge, there followed an almost equal period of continual sunshine, in which the sun pulled almost all the surface water from the earth. The earth's atmosphere being more rarefied at the time, its surface matter gave less resistance to the pulling action of the sun, and in consequence, trillions of tons of water particles were pulled thousands of miles out beyond the earth's atmosphere, where it ran into and was held by a vast cold band, where it rapidly formed a globe of ice around the earth. On first thought, one would suppose such a condition would shut off the rays of the sun and cause the earth to freeze, but the reverse was the case. It did soften the heat radiation of the sun, but such softening was a necessity, for now plant life was come for the first... What the fuck does that mean? For now plant life was come for the first time on the earth, and if the fierce action of the sun's rays on the earth's surface had continued, the coming plant life could not have survived its first earth experience any better than the archangels or man. The great ice barrier also kept the savage winds that roared out of interstellar space from getting through to the earth. The earth's atmosphere became somewhat hot, and the humidity was heavy and dense. The great winds that had swept vast quantities of earth particles into the air to be treated by life-giving ultraviolet rays of the sun had long been back on the earth, brought by water particles, and though the sun had taken most of the water off the earth's surface to form the ice barrier in the sky, it had left great lakes of it, so that when the ice barrier blocked off the great winds from the earth, these lakes of water became practically motionless. Then great swarms of what your friend, the helper, referred to as etheric germ life, but which I shall call by a name you may better understand as vitic globules, settled on the nearly motionless surface of these lakes. These minute points of light are intelligent life forces sent out by the overlords from the high etheric. And their work was to create or duplicate the scenic beauty of the low etheric, so that when man or the high archangels made their second attempt to colonize the earth, they would feel more at home. These little creatures I sometimes like to refer as etheric eggs, for as they came to rest on the surface of the waters, they went to work on the then existing chemicals or dead matter in the water, and formed what you call a scum on the surface, thus forming a sufficiently strong physical structure for the next step, which was accomplished by the slow evaporation of water. As the waters were absorbed into the humid air, great quantities of this surface scum were left on dry land, where it started to turn acid and ferment very rapidly. All changes in matter are brought about by the force of the cosmic mind playing upon what you call raw or dead forces called, is that chemicals? chemicals, or in other words, a positive force working in a negative field, rearranging the electronic fields of the raw matter so as to form a variety of chemical compositions. The purpose of creating a vast variety of chemical compositions was to form a positive negative field that consisted of an endless variety of motion or different rates of vibration. Some of these rates of vibration differed from one another by infinitesimal fractions, and others were of such great speeds they ran out of the field of what you call solids and entered the field you call liquids and gases. Of course, great portions of the vibrations called liquids and gases had slowed down eons before, and formed solids. That is, their rates of vibration had slowed down to the point that would be best suited for its coming inhabitants. Then another change was made in the positive negative fields of matter. The Vidic globules, or pinpoints of energy, all carry their own particular rate of vibration, and so they have to choose a chemical that will closely correspond in vibratory motion to their own in order to enter into and endow it with their life energy. The beginning of this set of impregnating of matter with life energy is not a difficult one for those little beings. In fact, the act is quite a mechanical one, for they are automatically attracted to the chemicals best suited to their purpose by the magnetic field of attraction of that chemical. The affinity that one kind of chemical has for a particular life force is brought about by the rate of motion of the electronic field of the atoms natural to that particular chemical. If it is of a higher rate than the magnetic field of the life force approaching it, it will automatically reject or repulse it. But if it is a mere fraction lower, the life force will rush into it at a terrific rate of speed. This blending of the spiritual forces with the chemical atom causes great excitation, exhilaration, Jesus Christ. This blending of the spiritual forces with the chemical atom causes great excitation, exhilarating the chemical atom, expanding its magnetic field, causing it to pull toward itself all other chemical atoms in harmony with it, and the characteristics of shape and form imbued in the particular life force, and rejecting all which is not. It continues this activity until it forms a physical seed or egg. In mystical terms, we may refer to the seed or egg as a subjective thought or idea awaiting the proper moment to become an objective manifestation called out of the invisible light, of the invisible into the visible by the commending rays of the sun, which is the light of wisdom in your chemical world to all plant life and to some measure to man also. As long as the manifested the idea lives in harmony with the other ideas around it and conforms to the force that brought it into the physical world, it will thrive and grow strong. But the moment it ceases to do so, it will in that moment perish or lose its physical vehicle and return to the world of the subjective. This, however, does not mean that it will lose its life force. The life forces can never be lost, even though the earth pass away and all physical matter throughout the length and breadth of space go with it. For none of it rightfully belongs to life force as an eternal something, but is merely a phase of it, one of the countless forms of its self-expression. Many schools of the occult show their lack of even good common sense when they openly state that they know the true number of years that makes a round or cycle of the birth and death of either man or the world of matter he lives in, or where the true essence of man originated. Even the greatest adept or avatar on earth cannot vouchsafe this information, for once man attains that great advanced state of mind, he would not under any circumstances allow this knowledge to pass his lips so that it would fall into a channel that would take it back to the ears of the untrained? All right. All that you shall ever read or hear in regard to man and the so-called mystic side of life, while very beautiful and extremely helpful towards placing you on your secret path, is by no means whatsoever the secret laws of life. Believe me, my friends, these laws cannot and never shall be given out. Why? The answer is simple. You yourself as an individual must seek them. They are yours. They belong exclusively to you. Let not this news make you disheartened, for I assure you that time is not. But in the course of that which is not, ye shall know all the great and glorious truth. January 25th, 1949. Did anybody understand any of that bullshit? The Yada D. Shiite, according to his own account, was born in the city of Kaoti, city of temples. In a civilization called Yu, or Yuga, vast body, consisting of some 180 million people and existing in the Himalayan mountains 500,000 years ago. He was taken from his mother as a baby and reared in a temple to become a kata, priest, and later a yada, or high priest. He died at the age of 34 in a great earthquake, which destroyed the entire population of Yu in the year 1024 of its history. The title yada not only means high priest, but also spirit life. Shiite means clan and also mystic order. This personality is one of the best known of the famous Mark Probert controls, and during the past 8 years has given a great amount of important material in science, metaphysics, philosophy, occultism, and cultural subjects generally, both thought through deep trance of MP and through the latter's clear audience. I guess MP is Mark Probert. Keep reading well and end up like John Coffey before sunup. Who the fuck is John Coffey? The Maharaja Nacha Shrimalaki or Tramalaki or Shamalama, ding dong. The story given by this personality is that he was born of an English mother and an Indian father in the year 1848 in Dhaka, India. His parents were wealthy and owned large estates, and the son was sent to a medical college at Oxford. But he was a poet and philosopher as well as a profound student of occult matters, and after taking his final degree in medicine to please his father, he suddenly disappeared. The following 10 years, he tells us, were spent in travel in remote regions, and his death occurred at his home in Bombay about 1915. All questions pose more questions, says the Raja, and all answers are personal opinions. The only sound rule to apply to life's problems is to question nothing, but to face all situations with detachment. I think there's one more fucking page. The magic bag from which the story of creation has been taken is issued in 2 volumes, 70 and 107 pages, respectively. Volume 1, $2, and Volume 2, $3. One of the most remarkable, important publications of our time. All right, well, that's great. And there appears to be no notes from, what's his name? Dr. Lovewell. That's the guy from the Green Mile. Okay. Yeah, I'm multitasking too because this is actually a research project of Dr. What was his name? Paul and Victoria Lovewell. And I'm just trying to find out why they own this book and many other books. And so I read it with hopes of understanding something, but that book meant absolutely nothing. This book does not have anything about Lovewell in it, but these do. Paul and Lovewell. And he was an osteopath. Osteopathic doctor, and he apparently was highly interested in the occult. Don't remember where I bought these books, but I remember them picking them up out of a box underneath the table at an estate sale. Yeah, they're on to something. I just don't know what it is. But I've been looking up information on these people for years, and I just can't really find much. Considering they were doctors, you'd think there'd be much more. But I do believe that I also sold a book by the infamous UFOologist, Laura Mundo, which they owned. So that's possible that they actually knew Laura Mundo, which is of importance to me, although not to many other people. Any questions? Any questions, folks? Any questions? Alan's message to men of the earth by the man from outer space. Don't know if he owned this book too. And since I just found this one in my shelf the other day, there could be several more of these books. But he was a doctor who was into the paranormal and the occult. So it's very interesting that he would read about the ether ship mystery and its solution of flying discs. And this guy, I don't know if you got here early enough, but he was mentioned in this book. So apparently this Borderlands, yeah, see, these are from the same place, BSRA, bullshit something. Or he could have just had a passing interest in all this bullshit. This book is how many single pages? It's not that many. I guess it is. It's like 50 pages probably. Yeah, I can read this in 2 or 3 installments. Still love this fucking photo. This is great. Hey, we got a little Mars man. And we got a solar disk. Attempt is made in the following pages to prove. Yeah, because you're not proving jack shit in this. I'll be honest, who knows? My best guess on chasing immortality and whatnot, it might be easy to attain, but people still happily bail. Or is that ball? No, it says bail. I don't know. The thing I don't understand about people is why they have to know what the origin of creation is. As the poet Robinson Jeffers said, the earth always existed and always will. And quite honestly, within your lifetime, that will be true. Because you will never know. And nobody will ever know. And the real fucking, I don't know what the word is, but the real irony is that as soon as the earth ends, well, you're going to know how, but you're not going to know anything else because you're going to be dead. So that's going to be the real catch. What's that fucking phrase? Catch. I don't know. I shouldn't have drank 2 beers. First time I really drank in about 2 months. What's it, a catch-21? Yeah, but who cares what the fucking origin of consciousness is? Who gives a shit? You know you're going to die. I mean, what's any of it, man? Catch-22 then. Well, I was one off. Catch-22. Catch-21, buddy. Hey, I caught 21, but I didn't get the other one. It's like catching all the Pokemon. but you missed one. Did you get anything out of this motherfucking book? Because I got nothing. I mean, I literally know less than when I started. I mean, this was butter churning bullshit 101. The story of creation. This is the story of fucking mental masturbation. The great thing about these live broadcasts is that I can only go 1 hour because I'm pirating. You liked it? What did you get out of it? Give me like any. I mean, I drank 2 beers that were pretty high octane, so I probably shouldn't have done that. But I literally got 0 out of this book, except consciousness doesn't matter. And once you realize consciousness, you know nothing. That's all I got out of this book. Actually, I read it in two live episodes. As I said, I'm pirating Wi-Fi from my own phone on a app, so I can only go 1 hour at a time, which is good because anything over an hour is just irksome. So what are these things that are on the borders of the border of New Mexico and Arizona? What are they? Some structures? So I've been in New Mexico and Arizona several times. I don't know what those are. At least I actually used a light this time because I cannot read this dull-ass writing from 1950s and what are these called? Mimeographs, where you print on one page. It's probably a rather semi-valuable book. I foolishly sold all the ones that I had that were about UFOs except for this one. And there is Paul N. Lovewell's name emblazoned on the front. I would like to read this book too. This one seems way easier to read, but it'll take like 10 episodes. The first election of lawmakers. The origin of the democratic idea. The Secret Destiny of America. The theme and pattern for this book was first developed in a lecture given by the author at Carnegie Hall, New York, December 2nd, 1942, and aroused public interest in the subject, led to further research with enlargement of the findings and this publication in book form. What the hell is Kriya Yoga? Oh, man. Oh. Alan's message to men of Earth by the man from outer space. The real thing I need to know is if this writing, and you can probably help me here since you're the only one here, is, let's see, DPN Lovewell. Are there any letters that correspond? That R is kind of similar. I want to know if this is his writing. It's really hard to tell. I'm going to say offhand it is not his writing. The E's are totally different. The small E's in the cursive. Yeah, that's totally different than that. Yeah, that's not the same writing. I don't think this is his book. I don't think it's his book, bruv. I don't think they're the same. You think they're different or they're the same? I thought they were different. Way different. Yeah, what about those rocks? What about those rocks, bruv? Got about 8 minutes left in this cast before it shuts off. Yeah, different for sure. Are they kind of like the ones at what's that place in Utah? So they're basically just rock formations. Glaciers set them. Valley of the Gods. Is that what that's called? That what's that place in Utah? There's a Moab, where it's like a penguin and some other bullshit. I went there twice, but I can't remember what it was called. And the Arches National Park. I think the Arches may have collapsed. Yeah, Moab. Good old Moab. Broab. South of Cortez, Colorado. I haven't been out west since, what, 2001? Is that when I last went? I think so. No, I think it was later. Somewhere in that area, though. 2001, 2002. This camera work is quite brilliant. Fucking brilliant, bruv. The old Devil's Highway 666. I refuse to go on there just because it's been too commercialized. Tell you one thing, though. I moved to Vegas for a while. Trucking. What are you, a trucker? Who's that other person that comes here that claims they're a trucker, too? I think it's going out of Vegas and you can go through, what's that little town? It's just all fucking cactus. All cactuses? Yeah. It's all cactuses. I should look at the road. It was an amazing ride I took when I left Vegas. I moved there because one of my buddy's girlfriends left him with a lease, and I drove out there and lived for a while. And when I came back home to Michigan, I drove through this fucking route somewhere in Nevada that just went, I mean, just up through nowhere. It was incredible. The cactuses were 10 feet tall. It was incredible. But I should have never drove my car through that shit. Damn, heat out there was excessive. No, this was before MapQuest. This was in like 2001, I think. I don't think MapQuest was even existed then. It might have even been called Cactus City or something. Some little route that goes there and next to whatever the route is down south. I don't know what that is. I-80 maybe or something like that. The hell what's the road that goes east to west down in the south through Arizona and New Mexico and 95? No, 95 would have to go north to south. It'd have to be a even number. So maybe it was I-80. I don't know. I don't know what the road is. I think it's 80, like that. I'm at 57 minutes. This thing's going to shut off automatically. And like, alien cat house. What the hell is the alien cat house? Damn. The bear's kicking my ass. You can never get Schlafly pumpkin ale, get it. Stuff's pretty damn good. It's from last year, but it's still pretty good. A brothel, Jesus Christ. Serious? I'd never go to a brothel. I hate whores. Ain't nothing worse than a whore. And there goes the chat. Chat disconnected. That's what happens after about 57 minutes. Where's this from? Missouri? Missouri? I get it in Michigan. If there's a Total Wine area, yeah, it's from St. Louis, Missouri. If there's a Total Wine anywhere near you, you can probably get this. Like I said, I shouldn't have drank 2 beers. Both high octane. They kicked my ass. Haven't drank in a while. Anyway, I'm going to stop this and restart at some point. Go get some refreshments. So I can keep reading, so I can read all fucking night like a madman. This is booktube, bruv. I think I'll come back and read the second chapter of this. Well, part of the second chapter, which is like 95 pages. All right, that's all. Be back in a little bit.